Reconociendo la rareza y gran significación de este precioso renacimiento humano, que es la maravillosa base de una oportunidad obtenida solamente una vez, pido bendiciones para generar interrumpidamente de día y de noche la mente que busca solo lo que es esencial para obtener el Budado. Recordando que la muerte rápidamente destruirá mi inconstante cuerpo y mi vida, que son como burbujas en un arroyo. Yo, obteniendo un firme reconocimiento de que los efectos de mis acciones negras me seguirán después de mi muerte como la sombra de un cuerpo. Pido bendiciones para cuidarme de evitar aún las faltas más sutiles y para lograr solo lo que es virtuoso. Conscientes de las desventajas de los bienes mundanos por ser insatisfacciones al ser consumidos, poco confiables y la puerta a todo sufrimiento. Pido bendiciones para generar el gran esfuerzo por el gozo de la liberación. Pido bendiciones para tomar como mi práctica esencial las guías para la liberación individual, los votos pratimoshka, que son la raíz del Dharma, y hacerlo con la mayor conciencia e introspección inducida por el pensamiento puro de la renunciación al samsara y luchando por la liberación. Viendo que así como he caído en el océano del samsara, también así los seres transmigradores que han sido mis madres, pido bendiciones para desarrollar el pensamiento supremo de la iluminación que toma sobre sí la carga de liberar a los seres transmigradores. Viendo que si genero solo el pensamiento de la iluminación y no cultivo los tres tipos de moralidad del Bodhisattva, no obtendré la iluminación. Pido bendiciones para entrenarme asiduamente en los votos de los herederos de los conquistadores, los Bodhisattvas. Pido bendiciones para generar rápidamente en mi continuo mental la unión de la quietud y la percepción, a través de pacificar la mente que vaga hacia objeto falso e investiga apropiadamente el objeto último, la vacuidad. Cuando me haya convertido en un recipiente espiritual apropiado, entrenado en el sendero del vehículo de la perfección común, pido bendiciones para felizmente entrar en el vehículo más elevado, el Vajrayana, el barco sagrado que cruza a los seres afortunados. Obteniendo entonces la certeza que debo guardar los votos tántricos puros que son el fundamento de los logros mundanos y trascendentales, pido bendiciones para guardarlos aún a riesgo de mi vida. Comprendiendo esto, lo esencial en las etapas de generación y consumación, que son el corazón de las 4 clases de Tantra, pido bendiciones para practicar de acuerdo con las enseñanzas de los seres sagrados sin abandonar la práctica del yoga en 4 sesiones diarias. que los maestros que enseñan el sendero del bien y los amigos que lo practican correctamente tengan larga vida. Pido bendiciones para rápidamente pacificar las obstrucciones externas e internas, que en todas mis vidas nunca me encuentre separado de maestros perfectos y que disfrute del esplendor del Dharma, habiendo perfeccionado las buenas cualidades de los 10 niveles del Bodhisattvas y de los 5 senderos, que pueda rápidamente obtener el rango de Vajradhara. Al poderoso Vajradhara, que ha originado todas las realizaciones, a Avalokiteshvara, el gran tesoro de la compasión no objetiva, a Manjushri, maestro de la sabiduría inmaculada, a Vajrapani, sostenedor del secreto que destruye la multitud de maras, a Sumatikirti, joya de la corona de los sabios de la tierra de las nieves, y a ti, Guru Buda, que contiene los 3 objetos de refugio. Respetuosamente hago con mis 3 puertas estas peticiones. Por favor, concédame sus bendiciones para madurar y liberarme a mí mismo y a otros. Por favor, concédame las realizaciones supremas y comunes.
So this morning, we're supposed to be doing Vajrasattva. So this is where we'll put the Vajrasattva. So I think what we'll do is we'll do the refuge 3 times. And we'll do the refuge 3 times. And then I will lead you through a meditation on Vajrasattva, just generating Vajrasattva in the crown of your head. And then we will chant the Vajrasattva mantra together 21. I think we'll do it 28 times as a group. It's kind of nice. It feels good when we all do it together, I think. So we'll do it 28 times. And there are 4 visualizations that go with Vajrasattva. That's why we'll do it 28 times. So we'll try to do 7 with each one. So you have to keep track. So the first, Vajrasattva is on the crown of your head. And we'll stop too and generate regret. And as Veronica reminded us, it's not shame. We have done bad things, but like I said, we aren't bad people, or like she said, we have mistakes, but we are not the mistakes. But we need to recognize that we've made mistakes. And for some of us, that's very, very difficult to recognize that we've made mistakes, because it brings up the shame that I'm a bad person. So that's why it's important to do the meditation that we did last weekend on loving yourself and have compassion for yourself, so that you can begin to let yourself be open to the vulnerable feelings inside that we have to cover up and put on this hard show of, there's nothing wrong with me, I'm good, because, for whatever reason, it's too difficult to, the reason it's too difficult is because we feel shame when we're not, it's sort of like we had to develop, we talked about this a lot before, but we had to develop that false personality, And so that false personality doesn't have faults. And so to begin to recognize that we have faults, it starts to shake that confident false personality that we have in the world, and then we start to feel vulnerable and soft and able to be harmed. So that's why it's very difficult to start to recognize our faults, is because when we do that, then we feel too open to being harmed again. Because the reason we closed up and built that false self is because we were being harmed. But all that stuff gets mixed up, so, and also a lot of the times when we were being harmed, particularly as a child, you think you made it happen. Little children, psychology knows that, I can't remember until you're 7 years old, I think, your ego just isn't formed. And so when you're feeling harm, you think you caused the harm. And so that's where and especially if someone tells you you're bad too, you know. So that's why we get, so early age, we get closed up to off from our true feelings. And so to really make Vajrasattva work, we kind of need to open up and allow for that to come, which is why we need a safe place. So, you know, if you've really if you've been severely abused as a child, you know, you probably shouldn't do these kinds of things without the help of some kind of therapist or something, if you really want to go there. I mean, you can do Vajrasattva with the false self, you know, and say these things. But I think if you, and that's okay, that's an okay place to start. You know, if you can't touch your real feelings because it's too scary or because it's too painful or you don't even know why, you just can't. You know, but you just can't get there because the wall you built up is like, you can't even touch it. Yeah, it's too thick. You can't even touch it. But I think if you do Vajrasattva practice, it's a really profound practice. And even if you do it, not being able to touch that inner person, inner child, inner feelings, whatever, you know, inner self, just by doing Vajrasattva with the intention and just saying it, it'll eventually crack open, which is why you need to be prepared for that to happen. Because I've done Vajrasattva retreat 3 times, and usually, you know, what happens is once you complete the 100,000, particularly, or even during the retreat, particularly if you are, like most of us, not really able to touch that vulnerable spot, something will happen to you that's a disaster that will make all that come back. And it can happen more than once. You know, it can happen, you know, you do another nundro and it comes again. So I just kind of want to warn you, and it's why it's good that you have a sangha and friends, because quite often after you've done a big purification retreat, the purification starts after the retreat, when you're in the world. You know, even if you just do a short, like you guys have done those approximation retreats, sometimes when you come back, some heavy karma will ripen that like really cracks your ego open. And it's usually something that we might label painful. So it's important to really work with it and realize it's not painful. It feels painful because it's just change. But in the end, if you can hang in there long enough, it's a transformation. And you're going to go through a big transformation so that when you come out the other side, you're stronger and you're more confident and your Dharma practice is more real. But, you know, Chogyam Trungpa said that the function of the guru is to destroy the ego. So your ego will get destroyed if you go do your nundros. I mean, believe me, big things can happen. So I don't want to scare you. I just want you to know that when the big thing starts to happen, that this is actually the result of your prayers. You know, and so it's good you have friends, you know, that can help you, you know, and because usually you end up in a situation where it's not so intense that you can't handle it. There's somebody to help you. You know, I myself, last year I just built a stupa. That's a big deal. So I've been going through another one, you know, it never ends. And it's been really great for me to come here because everybody's been helping me, you know. So it still happens, you know. And you can read in like Milarepa's life stories and all the life stories of the great Mahasiddhas, they went through these things, you know. Especially like if you read Naropa, I think, well, how many did he go through? Is it 11 or I can't remember, but each time, you know, something happens and he gets completely, you know, just knocked down, you know. And the guru comes along and says, oh, Naropa, look into the mirror of your mind and meditate on Mahamudra, you know. And this is Naropa, who was like the greatest pandit at Nalanda. You know, he understood everything perfectly. He had the perfect Majjhimika view. But still, he would fall apart when he started going through the actual purification practices. and he would get put back together again. You always get put, it's like Humpty Dumpty. Humpty Dumpty does get put back together again. But the shell isn't so hard. His shell becomes softer and softer and softer and softer. Because what we want to do is we want to become soft people. We want to become vulnerable people, but vulnerable people that have good boundaries, so that we can be vulnerable in a situation where we can feel other people's suffering and help other people's suffering, but not so that we put ourselves in situations where we get hurt. And the problem is when we're a child, we because we get in these vulnerable situations, we shut off to all feelings, so we don't feel anything very much. And Veronica and I have been talking, one of the things that happened to us is we weren't really even aware of fear. We didn't know when we were supposed to be afraid of something, and so we'd go into dangerous situations, And it's taken some time to learn, this is to recognize danger. But for somebody else, it might be, I need to recognize desire. You don't even recognize desire because you're so shut off from your feelings that you just go from one relationship to the next, to the next, to the next, because you don't have the discriminating wisdom to recognize this is that. I mean, we can talk about it till the cows come home. I want to purify death, anger, ignorance, hatred, greed, pride, and jealousy. But what happens is when it comes up in our mind, we don't see it. And we do all kinds of weird, jealous things. And then maybe months later you look back and go, wow, that was really weird. Why did I do that? In psychology they call it acting out. You're acting out something because you don't realize that, that part of you is hidden. You have a hidden delusion that you really don't see. And our biggest hidden delusion is, of course, self-cherishing. That's why I'm saying, please bless me to be sensitive. Because still, I can be insensitive to somebody else's situation because I'm busy or I can't see it. So what we really want is become vulnerable, but in an adult way. In a way that we can, and the thing is, someone asked me, I feel when I feel other people suffering, it's so much suffering, I can't bear it. That's good, that's a beginning, you're actually feeling something. But when you have the rest of the practices, and you begin to help others, you can deal with that feeling. But especially the emptiness, But another time, another friend of mine, I was going through I went through a big one in the 80s, because I did like a bunch of Nundros at once. I spent a year in retreat, and I did a whole lot, and I came out and like my whole life completely fell apart. And I was really suffering, and I went back to where I was, and I went to this friend of mine who was a student of Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, and she said, Rinpoche said, a bodhisattva always has a broken heart. So we're going to feel it more and more. That's why the Christ figure is a good one, the broken heart. The huge broken heart, But because of the faith and the emptiness, and you can deal with the broken heart, So, we need to heal our own personal broken hearts. But we're always going to, if we really are compassionate, that's what compassion means. Love is to wish someone to be happy. Love is joy. But compassion, there's one definition of compassion, is that which stops bliss. Because it's painful. Compassion is painful. Compassion, come is together. So together I'm feeling someone's passion in terms of the passion of the Christ, the big suffering, But compassion isn't the only tool we have. We have love, we have joy, we have bliss, we have emptiness. So we have to, that's why we need to have them both together, right? So Vajrasattva, Lama Yeshe said if you do any Nundro, he wanted every one of his students before they died to do Vajrasattva retreat because he said it's the most powerful one to break open our Humpty Dumptys, And one time I gave a week of thought training in the 7 verses, or the 8 verses, I did it in Mexico one time, a long time ago. But I kept using I don't know, I know why, because they were all into Pink Floyd, the Mexicans just love Pink Floyd, and they have it all, they sing. I went to this village where they had it was Durango, and they had this big festival, and they had this Mexican band playing Pink Floyd. And I looked around, and they were singing all the words in English, everybody knew all the words to the Dark Side of the Moon, So I used the example of the wall, that's a really great, sorry, I don't know why I'm crying, but because we all have that wall, And I think that Roger Waters was doing a really good, I think he's a Bodhisattva, actually. I think he's doing a really great thing because he fell apart, It's the story. He put it out for everyone to see that he completely had a nervous breakdown. And, his wall completely tore down. And he did it. He went around the whole world, trying to get everybody to tear down their walls. And that's what that thing is about, And then he went to Berlin, I don't know if you know that, but he went to Berlin and did a whole thing. I just think it's wonderful, because we need to tear down our walls so we can feel everybody's feelings. God, I don't know what's going on. So anyway, I think when you connect with somebody's bodhisattva activity, it's really powerful. And I think he is doing that, in his own way, And it says in the Dharma that if bodhisattvas don't manifest as gurus, they manifest as musicians. Because what really touches people is music, isn't it? Yeah. So it's a very profound thing that he did, because we have to, and it's all about his mother. I mean, the whole thing, it's, if you never heard it, it's worth listening to, the way the children are, we don't need no, that whole thing. He shows how to build up the wall, how his mother made the wall. The mother made the wall. And he just went nuts, when he became a rock and roll star, because he couldn't maintain that false self anymore. It's too much suffering. And so that's what we want to do with Vajrasattva. And so you have to be wanting to invite disaster in a way, because it's not that I mean, I don't know, maybe some people can do it peacefully, but I don't know anybody that has. So anyway, that's what I don't want to talk to, because we have to do the practice, but I really encourage you to do Vajrasattva practice. And if you possibly can take 3 months and do the retreat, your life completely changes. My friend Harry Sutton, he used to be a monk, but he said, because he'd done it before me, and he said, before you do Vajrasattva practice, it's like you're on a big freeway in the middle of all the traffic, just stuck in traffic with everything, like bigger, like not like the freeway you have here, but like a California freeway with 6 lanes, Yeah, and he said, but after Vajrasattva, you're on the freeway and you're the only car driving on the road. Because so much of that stuff just leaves, And when I've done Vajrasattva practice, very rarely did I have concentration. That's the other thing I want to tell you. But I did it anyway. I hardly could ever do the visualization, because just your mind, all the stuff, your whole life comes up, And you can apply the mantra to that. And you have these amazing dreams. And one of the dreams I had was my mom came with 2 big semi trucks, and loaded, and I had a house. I never had a house so big, but it was full of stuff. And my mother was taking all the stuff and then putting it in the semi-trailers and driving away with it, you know. That's a very powerful dream, you know, because what's the mother? The mother's wisdom. So the mother was just like taking away all my stuff so that my house was empty, you know. So, you know, that's what we want. And when you do Vajrasattva retreat, there's some signs to look for. That it's also in that book, Mahayana Purification, if somebody could find it, you know. Lama Zopa tells the dreams to look for. But there are things like taking showers, seeing the sunrise or the sunset, seeing a fire, eating dairy products, like drinking milk, eating ice cream. I used to eat ice cream sometimes, you know, because it's all white, you know, eating white foods, seeing yourself wearing white clothes. And when you do Vajrasattva practice, it's good to wear white, because it's all about white. It's all about purifying, you know. And eating delicious foods, being with your guru, you know, being at a puja, like that. I think that's all I can remember. Oh, seeing the moonrise, watching the moonrise is another one, because the moon is a symbol of bodhicitta. The moon is bodhicitta, and the sun, the moon is compassion, and the sun is wisdom, which is why they sit on a moon in a sun disk. The lotus is renunciation. The moon is bodhicitta, and the sun is right view. That's the symbol why they always sit on the lotus. Because, you know, you guys all know that the lotus comes out of the mud. You know, so that's kind of what Vajrasattva is. It's growing the lotus, you know. So let's do it, huh? That's funny, Roger Waters made me cry. Music makes me cry, though. I don't know. You know, he might not be a Buddhist, but he sure has Buddhist lyrics. You know? Maybe he's a secret Buddhist. Or maybe it's just because Buddhism is just about reality. So if you understand reality, you know, you write about that, you know. Okay, so I brought my little book. So I get it just right. And this is I'm going to read you the Vajrasattva practice from the Chakrasamvara practice. Because the Vajrasattva practice that Lama Yeshe taught was Haruka Vajrasattva. So it's a little bit different mantra. And also, you know, Vajrasattva, I think I can say, I don't know if it's just Haruka Vajrasattva or all Vajrasattvas, but the Vajrasattva, even though he's white, he's slightly blue. And his consort, do we have a picture of Vajrasattva here? Maybe could somebody go get it and bring it out so we. And the consort is slightly red, slightly pink. And the reason it's the consort is because it represents the union of bliss and emptiness. You know, the union of the illusory body and the clear light. It's not about sex. Oh, well, are you guys doing this one, not the union one? Is this the one you're doing? Oh, okay. Well, sorry. The one I was doing, the one I always learned was in union with the consort. Okay, well then, just hold it up though so people can see it maybe, so they can see. And turn it around, these people need to see too. So then my what I'm going to say isn't quite right, but I can do it anyway. Okay. Let's see. So let's start with Namo Guru Bhye. I'm glad I checked because I would have led the wrong one. Namo Gurube. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Dharmaya. Namo Sanghaya. Namo Gurube. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Dharmaya. Namo Sanghaya. Namo Gurube. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Dharmaya. Namo Sanghaya. Is that three?
3 times.
Okay. Then we think, for the sake and benefit of all sentient beings, in order to attain the state of enlightenment, I'm going to engage in the practice of purification of Vajrasattva. And then generating regret. For all the past activities that have landed me still here in samsara with this body, this experiences that have brought me to the place where I am not aware of my delusions. And those that I am aware of, those mistakes I have made, I regret. And I'm doing Vajrasattva to regret those, but also to make me more aware of my relative true nature and my ultimate nature, emptiness, so that I can become a Buddha. So all those obstacles, all my negative karmas, all my sickness, any spirit harm, I'm confessing and regretting and laying bare now with great compassion for myself, requesting to purify. So on the crown of my head, from the syllable palm, comes a lotus that is white, kind of like a pearl. And on that, from another ah, comes a moon disk. I apologize if I'm wrong, I didn't see if it's a sun and a moon. We'll just say a moon disk. And the moon is shining like the moon. And on top of the moon is the seed syllable hum, which is the essence of my own mind. Or, sorry, not my mind, the mind of Vajrasattva, which is also the essence of my mind, but for now we're thinking it's Vajrasattva. And light rays radiate out from that white hum, going out in all directions, making offerings to all the sentient beings, and they become Buddhas. And again, the light rays go out, making offerings to all they've become Vajrasattva's. To all the sentient beings who become Vajrasattva's. And this then comes back and dissolves back into the Hung. And that Hung transforms into a white 5-pronged Vajra with the Hung at the heart of that. And light rays radiate out from that. Once again, you hear in the sadhanas performing the two purposes, which is liberating all sentient beings by offering them the Dharma, and then once they've all become enlightened in the form of Vajrasattva's, we make offerings to them. And then all the Vajrasattva's pour back into the Vajra with the Hung at the heart, and that transforms into Vajrasattva. Beautiful, beautiful deity in the male form. He has long hair, part of it's on the top of his head and at the top knot, and a crown of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, representing he's the essence of the 5 wisdoms. Sitting in diaphanous clothing, beautiful silken garments. You can visualize this about maybe the size of your hand on the crown of your head. Or if you like to make it bigger, you can. And and at his heart is another lotus in a moon disk with a Hung in the center, surrounded by the 100-syllable mantra. And he is in the nature of light, like a crystal or a hologram, if you've ever seen a hologram. And again, the lotus, it's all in the nature of light, but the lotus is more like a pearl, and the moon is more like, it's like the silvery moon, like when you see the full moon. And the mantra and the letters are like mercury, like quicksilver. And we make requests to Vajrasattva, oh Vajrasattva, please help me to purify all my past harmful actions done with ignorance or even done with intention, all my sickness, all my obstacles, spirit harms, particularly to developing great faith in the Dharma and Guru devotion, and all the path to enlightenment. And Vajrasattva is in the same essence as our own root Guru. So then, from Vajrasattva, because he's heard our request, from the mantra, this silver nectar, white nectar, like mercury, goes down through his central channel to the bottom, the lower doors of Vajrasattva, and comes into the crown of my head. And my whole body is filled with this purifying light. And the more powerful of the regret and wish to the more feeling you can generate, the more powerful the purification. And when you do this retreat and you have to recite the mantra 100,000 times, you can think of all the specifics, all the details. But for now, we'll just do it in general. So we're going to recite it 28 times. And so there's these different visualizations. So the first time, the nectars are going just down. And you imagine your whole body gets filled with this nectar. And from your lower doors, dark, black smoke, dark things, like tar, is coming out of you and going way down into the center of the earth, where the Lord of Death is waiting there with his mouth open. And he's absorbing it, because for him it is nectar, doesn't hurt him. And doing that, it also satisfies the Lord of Death so that you have a long life. You can also see scorpions and snakes and insects if you have spirit harm going down. But you're just thinking, all your negativity is going down through you. So that's the first one. The second one is to purify speech. So this time the nectars and rays, they come in and fill up your whole body. But this time they leave through the top of the body. So it's like if you have some kind of particles on a glass of water, and when you pour the glass in, the particles go to the top and then would overflow. So it's like that. So then all the negativities are like, it's like the nectar is like the water filling up the whole body, and from the crown of your head, everything comes out and just dissolves. Right? And then and that's for the speech. And then for the mind, you just imagine that as the nectars pour in, all the negativities collect into the heart chakra, kind of like when you do Tonglen. And but because of the brightness of of your bodhicitta, you can. It's like a light goes on. It's like the light of wisdom goes on, and it just dispels all the darkness that's in that comes in from the nectar, like pushing it into your heart. Now, I didn't check with Yangtze Rinpoche. I learned to do this practice with Vajrasattva at my heart. So I don't know. I think for now we'll just keep it on the crown. Well, how did he tell you to do it? It's in the heart too? Okay, so I guess what we should do is bring it into the heart. And still then it would be the same thing. The body would overflow. So you bring it into the heart. So we can do that, make it very small, and bring it down in our hearts. Yeah, there's all different ways to do these things, And if you can't do these visualizations, don't worry about it. The easiest one to do is the first one. Just feel it all going down, But at least it's good to know what they are. And then the last one is all three together. The body, speech, and mind all together. So maybe we'll just do 21 because it's already 5 minutes to 12. So is everybody clear how the practice works? So first let's make the Vajrasattva come down into the center of our heart. And as much as you can, feel the feeling of the body being purified, everything being purified. But what I've been told is the main thing is just develop the regret, the wish to change, the wish to purify. So you want to lead it? Mm-hmm. Okay. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Deno Patishta Rido Me Bhava Sutokayo Me Bhava Supokayo Me Bhava Anurato Me Bhava Sarva Siddhi Me Prayasha Sarva Karma Sushame Shitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajramame Musha Vajrabhava Mahasamaya Satoa Pet Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Vinopatishta Dido Me Bhava Sutokayo Me Bhava Supokayo Me Bhava Anurato Me Bhava Sarva Siddhi Me Prayasha Sarva Karma Sushame Chitam Shriram Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajramame Musha Vajrabhava Mahasamaya Sato Ahum Pet. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajra Sattva Dinopatishta Dido me bhava Sutokayo me bhava Sutvokayo me bhava Anurato me bhava Sarva siddhi me prayasha Sarva karma sushame Shitam shiryam kuruhum ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajrama me Musha Vajrabhava Mahasamaya Sato Ahum Pet. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajra Sattva Dinopatishta Dido me bhava Sutokayo me bhava Supokayo me bhava Anurato me bhava Sarva siddhi me prayasha Sarva karma sushame Shitam Shriyam Kuruhum ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajramame Musha Vajrabhava Mahasamaya Sato Ahum Pet. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajra Sattva Dinopatishta Dido me bhava Sutokayo me bhava Zupokayo me bhava Anurato me bhava Sarva siddhi me prayasha Sarva karma suchame Shitam Shriyan Kuruhum ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajramame Musha Vajrabhava Mahasamaya Sato Ahum Pet. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajra Sattva Dinopatishta Dido me bhava Sutokayo me bhava Supokayo me bhava Anurakto me bhava Sarva siddhi me prayasha Sarva karma sushame Shitan Shiryan Kuruhum ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajramame Musha Vajrabhava Mahasamaya Sato Ahum Pet. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajra Sattva Benopatishta Dido me bhava Sutokayo me bhava Supokayo me bhava Anurakto me bhava Sarva siddhi me prayasha Sarva karma sushame Shitan Shiryan Kuruhum ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajramame Musha Vajrabhava Mahasamaya Sato Ahum Pet. Om Vajra Sato Samaya Manupalaya Vajra Sato Dinopatishta Dido me bhava Sutokayo me bhava Supokayo me bhava Anurakto me bhava Sarva siddhi me prayasha Sarva karma sushame Shitan Shiryan Kuruhum ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajramame Musha Vajrabhava Mahasamaya Sato Ahum Pet. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajra Sattva Venopatishta Dido me bhava Sutokayo me bhava Supokayo me bhava Anurakto me bhava Sarva siddhi me prayasha Sarva karma sushame Shitan Shiryan Kuruhum ha 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 ho Bhagavan
Sarva tata gata vashrama me musha vashra bawa mahasamaya sato ahum pet. Om Vajrasato Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasato Deno Patishta Dido me bawa Sutokayo me bawa Supokayo me bawa Anurakto me bawa Sarva Siddhi me prayasha Sarva Karma Sushame Shitan Shiryan Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva tata gata vajrama me musha vajra bawa mahasamaya sato ahum pet. Om vajra sato samaya manupalaya vajra sato deno patishta dido me bawa sutokayo me bawa supokayo me bawa Anuryakto me bhava sarva siddhi me prayasha sarva karma sushame shitan shiryan kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan sarva tata gata vashrama me musha vashra bhava mahasamaya sato ahum pet. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Denopatishta Dido me Bhava Sutokayo me Bhava Zupokayo me Bhava Anurakto me Bhava Sarva Siddhi me Prayasha Sarva Karma Sushame Shitan Shiryan Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva tata gata vashrama me musha vashra bhava mahasamaya sato ahum pet. Om vashra sato samaya manupalaya vashra sato deno patishta dido me bhava sutokayo me bhava supokayo me bhava Anurakto me bhava sarva siddhi me prayasha sarva karma sushame shitan shiryan kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan sarva tata gata vashrama me musha vashra bhava mahasamaya sato ahum pet. Om Vajrasato Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasato Deno Patishta Dido me Bhava Sutokayo me Bhava Supokayo me Bhava Anurakto me Bhava Sarva Siddhi me Prayasha Sarva Karma Sushame Shitan Shiryan Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva tata gata vashrama me musha vashra bhava mahasamaya sato ahum pet. Om vashra sato samaya manupalaya vashra sato aveno patishta dido me bhava sutokayo me bhava supokayo me bhava Anuryakto me bhava sarva siddhi me prayasha sarva karma sushame Shitan Shiryan Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tata Gata Vashrama Me Musha Vashra Bhava Mahasamaya Sato Ahum Pet. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajra Sattva Deno Patishta Dido Me Bhava Tokayo me bawa, supokayo me bawa, anuryakto me bawa, sarva siddhi me prayasha, sarva karma sushame, shitan shiryan kuru hum, ha 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 ho bhagavan, sarva tata gata vashrama me musha, vashra bawa mahasamaya sato ahum pet. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasato deno patishta dido me bawa sutokayo me bawa supokayo me bawa anurakto me bawa sarva siddhi me prayasha sarva karma sushame shitan shiryan kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan sarva tata gata vashrama me musha vashra bawa mahasamaya sato ahum pet. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dinopatishta Dido Me Bhava Sutokayo Me Bhava Supokayo Me Bhava Anurakto Me Bhava Sarvasiddhi Me Prayasha Sarva Karma Sushame Shitan Shiryan Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarvatata Gata Vashrama Me Musha Vashra Bhava Mahasamaya Sato Ahum Pet Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dinopatishta Dido Me Bhava Sutokayo Me Bhava Supokayo Me Bhava Anurakto Me Bhava Sarvasiddhi Me Prayasha Sarva Karma Sushame Shitan Shiryan Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarvatata Gata Vashrama Me Musha Vashra Bhava Mahasamaya Sato Ahum Pet Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Denopatishta Dido Me Bhava Sutokayo Me Bhava Supokayo Me Bhava Anurakto Me Bhava Sarvasiddhi Me Prayasha Sarva Karma Sushame Shitan Shiryan Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarvatata Gata Vashrama Me Musha Vashra Bhava Mahasamaya Sato Ahum Pet Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Benopatishta Dido Me Bhava Sutokayo Me Bhava Supokayo Me Bhava Anurakto Me Bhava Sarvasiddhi Me Prayasha Sarva Karma Sushame Shitan Shiryan Kuruhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarvatata Gata Vashrama Me Musha Vashra Bhava Mahasamaya Sato Ahum Pet
So then we just relax into whatever spacious experience of emptiness without thinking. Just allow your mind to relax into emptiness. Allow yourself to feel completely purified and have faith that purification has happened. Remember, it's faith and intention. And then we hear our Guru in the form of Vajrasattva telling us, O child, precious child of the lineage, have faith, have confidence that all of your negative, mistaken activities, all your sickness, all your obstacles to enlightenment, all your wrong views, and any spirit harm is completely purified in the sphere of emptiness. And then we make the strong determination to watch our activities, to develop ever-increasing mindfulness of our body, speech, and mind. And then Vajrasattva, the lotus and the moon dissolve into Vajrasattva, and Vajrasattva dissolves into the lotus moon mantra to his heart. And the lotus at the heart of Vajrasattva dissolves into the moon, which dissolves into Vajrasattva. Oh, sorry, we're not at Vajrasattva. Dissolves into the mantra. The moon dissolves into the mantra. The mantra dissolves into the hum. And the hum dissolves by stages into emptiness. And then we rise as our ordinary selves and recite the dedication.
Dissolution of marriage bill or no?
We should have done that before we did Vajrasattva, I think.
Okay.
So let's just say it's been dissolved already.
Okay.
Well, actually, we didn't, but we should. Let's do that. So dissolve the merit. Just imagine the merit field's been there the whole time watching us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're really happy that we've been doing Vajrasattva practice. So we dissolve the merit field, and then again that can dissolve into us. And then we'll do the dedication.
Okay. Que por los méritos de esta virtud pueda alcanzar rápidamente el estado de un
Wait. We should read this thing. Glorious y precioso Guru Raíz.
Glorioso y precioso Gurú Raíz, por favor mora en el asiento de loto y luna aquí en mi coronilla, quedándome con tu gran bondad. Concédame por favor los logros poderosos de tu cuerpo, palabra y mente. Glorioso y precioso Gurú Raíz, por favor mora en el asiento de loto y luna en mi coronilla, cuidándome con tu gran bondad. Concédame todos los logros supremos y comunes. Glorioso y precioso Gurú Raíz, por favor, mora en el asiento de loto y luna en mi coronilla, cuidándome con tu gran bondad. Por favor, permanece hasta que haya obtenido la esencia de la iluminación.
Okay, now I see. This is where we should do the Vajrasattva practice, here.
Mm-hmm.
So next time, if you do it, I'm sorry, I just never got instruction. This is Yangtze Rinpoche's thing. I never did it before, so you just have to bear with me. So it looks like what you would do is you do the whole thing to here, dissolve the merit field, then do the Vajrasattva practice. Maybe here. You guys can check, I don't know. So anyway, so now we do the dedication. But we don't need to do Vajrasattva again.
No.
There's 3 there, you know it says. Okay.
Que por los méritos de esta virtud pueda alcanzar rápidamente el estado de un Gurú Buda y pueda llevar ese estado a todo ser sin excepción. La mente de iluminación es suprema y muy preciada, que donde no ha surgido surja, que donde ha surgido no disminuya, que cobre cada vez más fuerza. Así como Manjushri y Samantabhadra distinguieron los fenómenos tal cual son, yo también dedico estos méritos en la mejor forma, siguiendo su ejemplo perfecto. Dedico todas estas raíces de virtud con la dedicación que es considerada la mejor, por los victoriosos asidos de los 3 tiempos, para poder realizar todas las buenas obras.
Okay. So have a good lunch break. And come back at 2 o'clock, and we're going to do the Guru Yoga. And I'll try to be more clear about where to do the practice in here. So I'm sorry about that. Okay. It doesn't really matter. We did it anyway. Okay.